DA are the minority who believes that the majority should be slaves. Even this day, they still believe that we are slaves before their eyes. They don't believe in equality. They don't believe in human rights. They don't believe in bringing a old race together to work as a team and form a great partnership in terms of the production and in terms of economy. They do not believe in that. DA still believe that the whites or the white monopoly or the minority are the leaders of the majority. So we don't stand with DA.
If it doesn't touch your conscience, follow me your conscience. I want to bury it inside here.
All the people that you see here are students. But the most important thing is that they don't know what to expect in the future. But the French kids who are going to school just like you, they know already when they finish the school, they have a job, they have a house, they have America! Abba! France! Abba! England! Abba! Arab! Abba! Everyone! Abba! Africa, we stand together! Abba! Mass young food! Commando! Mass young food! Commando!
Peace and love, freedom and decolonization to all African people from wherever you find yourself. As always we say, if you have two shoes, please sell one and buy a sword. If you have two trousers, please sell one and buy a sword, because now it is time for revolution. And this revolution is not on the streets, this revolution is in the mind. We greet you with our greetings and our greetings word of love and peace and revolution. Welcome to our weekly conversation where we talk about things that matter for African liberation and African emancipation. And today we have another very special session where we discuss with the EFF, the freedom fighters of South Africa. And as always, this is the second time that I'm meeting with King Bongani. Greetings to you, King.
Hey, greetings, how are you?
All good on yourself?
I'm wonderful, I'm wonderful.
Tell us about the fight. How is it looks like in this year 2024, elections coming and everything upside downs of the country economy. Just tell us the overview of how you look at its political situation.
Okay, thank you very much, my brother. Firstly, allow me to greet the listeners at home and also to warmly greet you and also the fighters. This year, it's our 1994. 2024, it's our 1994. Reason why we're saying that is that if you remember very well, in 1994, when we fought against the apartheid regime, it was not for human rights, neither it was not for economic freedom. It was for the civil right, for the right to vote, the right to dream, at least the right to go to different variety of schools, but not for economic freedom. So this year, we're setting a trend where now we're fighting for economic freedom. We're fighting for the means of production to be in the hands of the poor, to be in the hands of the middle classes. We are fighting that we, as South Africans, we must be able now to create employment. We must open industries. We must be able to employ the youth that has been going to school, studying very hard with the little cent that they have. After studying, where should they go? They should find economic freedom in our lifetime.
And that's great. That's great. I mean, you have opened the discussion very powerfully to say that this is our 1994. So based on that, what do you say to those who say that we got our freedom already? You got many South Africans who really believe that we have gotten our freedom since 1994. You have even what is called the Freedom Charter. We have all these things that really mean that we have ended apartheid in 1994 and we've started that process of freedom. which some people believe that it takes time to get to that maturity that we want. So what your argument against that?
Look, in 1994, it was not a freedom. It was a civil right. It was deliverance. We were delivered from the hand of the oppressor, been delivered from apartheid regime. That was deliverance. And we honor the great Mandela for fighting for deliverance. It ended as deliverance. But from 1994 till this date, which is 30 years, it was a transition period where now we're trained for the liberation and economic freedom. And the deliverer will never bring you economic freedom. It can be. Because the deliverer, his mentality, it's slaved. The only thing that he thinks of slavery. The only thing that he thinks of himself. He doesn't think of the coming generation. But the economic freedom fighters are the ones that are thinking for the coming generation, because whatever we're going to fight for in 2024, we're fighting for the liberation of ourselves, the liberation of the coming generation, so that the coming generation now did not suffer the consequences of the past 30 years that we suffered, because there was no freedom in that past 30 years. Look at the unemployment rate. Every year is shooting sky high. Look at the killings every year. Look at the corruption that is taking place every year for the past 30 years. And we coming in as EFF, we are simply saying that now it's time for economic freedom. And economic freedom, we can never get it on the silver platter. It demands fight. And currently we are fighting. And we're fighting intelligently, we're fighting on the table, we're fighting in the parliament. We're also making sure that the groundwork, it's been done.
But we see many South Africans driving expensive cars, living in the suburbs, which was not the case prior to 1994. Flying private jets, living kind of luxury lives, right? I mean, lifestyle, doing almost whatever they want to do. What would you bring to them in terms of freedom? Because it's apparent that they've already got the freedom. They went to school, they've got PhDs, they are CEOs in different companies, they're driving all, these expensive cars. What does EFF then tell? If the EFF, refuse to accept that whatever is happening today is freedom, what about those Africans who I've just described? What message do you bring to them? What kind of freedom are you bringing to them?
Driving an expensive car, living in a luxury house does not give you freedom. That is a modern slavery, because it's not your house. It belongs to the bank. You have to sweat for that. The house, it belongs to the bank. The car belongs to the bank. If it happens for the next 4 or 5 months, you don't pay for that car, what's going to happen? If it happens for the 5 months, you don't pay for the house, what's going to happen?
Sorry.
Do you call that freedom?
Sorry to interject. Yeah. Does EFF intends to give people houses for free and cars for free?
Yes. We're intending to give those who cannot afford. We have a group of people in our country which they go with levels. There are those who are earning less than 3.5. They will never, even in their lifetime, own a house. We have to provide house for that person, because to be honest, what is important more than anything, it's a land. Because land brings restoration and dignity to a human being. If you give a person a land, they'll be able to build a house for themselves. They don't have to own any bank. If you give a person a land, they'll be able to build industries. And if you give people a land, they'll be able also not to give them, they will be able to build, but not only land. You give them free education. You give those who are skilled a better skill and nurture their skill to be able to open their own businesses. Some they can open a baking business. Some they can do toothpaste. Some they can do anything that they want to do that is to do with production. But if you take the means of production and you give it to the hands of the middle class, that's how they will open their own industries. But first, give them a land. When they own a land, they can open their own industry. When you open your own industry, how many people do you employ? So when you employ those people, how many people are going to build themselves houses? So now you don't have to go through the bond situation where now you have to pay a house for 20 to 25 years. If you only work for 10 years and you don't finish your bond and you're struggling to find a house, what's going to happen to you? Struggling to find a job, what's going to happen to your house? Do you call that freedom? It's just a modern slavery.
Fair enough. Now that's great. That's great. Now that's well said. Let's transition now to the upcoming elections. I read EFF manifesto, wonderfully put. I want you just to elaborate certain areas that you want people to keep in mind in terms of the change that you want to bring in South Africa if EFF is elected in power by 2024 May, as election is coming?
Yeah. Firstly, what is important is to nurture the next coming generation, the coming youth. If we give them free education, because we realize that the majority of the youth, their parents are not working, they're struggling, and they cannot take them to school. So if we give them free education, they'll be able to explore and provoke their innovation ideas and be able to study. And when they finish studying, they bring their ideas or the innovative ideas that they have. So we give them free education. After giving them free education, then we expose them to learn so that they can open their own industries and be able to employ others. One. Secondly, we know that the private bank, it does not do any justice to the majority. We know it's a serious problem. But if we have state-owned bank, we'll be able to give the middle classes, those who don't afford to buy those who don't afford a bond, and those who don't even afford RDP houses. We have such people which are middle classes. Those are the ones that you find in the Pretoria East, staying in flats and townhouses. They don't own those things. They cannot even leave that to their kids. So those are people that we want to give them an opportunity to be able to apply for a bond and have a bond that does not have a crazy rates, a bond that they'll be able to pay and afford. Even when they're in a crisis of not working, they'll be able to make means and arrangements to the state bank. And we will understand, because the state bank must serve the interest of the people. It must not oppress or suppress the interest of the people. So those are one of the keys the manifesto was spoken about, which is very interesting to the middle class. It's very interesting for the youth, as well as those who are not working are able to exercise their skills. When they give them a skills development, they're able to enhance their skills and be able to make a living for themselves. So the manifesto speaks to reality. The manifesto speaks to the majority of people that are suffering in our country. So it allows them to live a better life. And as well, those who went to school and they've got degrees and masters and they're not working, we are able to even give them an allowance every month up until they are able to get a job. And you look at our grannies that are getting 1,200 or 1,000, between 1.2 to 1.5. What can you do in these days with that kind of money? Because everything is going up. Now currently, you saw that they were telling us that eggs are more expensive. You know, you buy eggs for 100 rand. You buy like 16 eggs for 100 rand. And then a grain was anyone 1.2. Do you think we'll be able to take care of his or her household? It's impossible. So if we double their money, then at least they can have a better living. Yeah. So basically, it's one of those that they caught my eyes, but there's more of them that caught other people in a different way. So people are very excited and looking forward for 29 May, because they are seeing EFF as the liberation and transforming a movement that will bring change in their lives.
No, that's true. That's true. The manifesto was well put. I mean, you guys have worked so hard to tackle every issue and explain how you are going to approach it, how you are going to solve it, which was wonderfully done. It's about, I think, 200 pages or something like that.
Above 200, yes.
Yeah, it's a very, very beautifully put. So now, that's on the economic side of things or social side of things, how you want to tackle unemployment. You have a situation where medical doctors in South Africa are going unemployed. You want to, you have said you want to give them some kind of subsidies monthly until they get a job and stuff like that. So now let's come now to the social area where you have infrastructural challenge in South Africa. You have water crisis, you have electricity, load shedding. How do you think of approaching that differently from what ANC is doing already?
Look, if you look at the issue of load shedding, it's man-made. You cannot say that in our country we don't have infrastructure that can cater electricity. You cannot say that we don't have mines that can give us enough coal. It's impossible. I mean, you know that Africa is rich in minerals. So clearly can tell you that we never run out of coal. So now if you look at this, when I say it's private, it's man-made, it's because the capitalists who are fronting with ANC are the ones that are pushing this. They want business to themselves. They want to privatize the electricity so that it can affect even the majority, the ones that cannot afford. So we realize that that's the issue. So when EFF comes in, it's going to deal with the issue of the capitalists first. We remove them from the hands of our economy. We're going to remove them from the hands of our state-owned businesses, because they're the ones that are destroying the state. So that is the first thing that we need to do as EFF, and we need to resolve the matter of load shedding. And if you look at even our caption, we are even saying that we're going to stop load shedding. One. Secondly, the issue of water. If we go to Tshwane in Mamelodi, there's an area called Ikageng. It's 5 years now, they don't have water. And if you look at it, it's not even a crisis. They created a crisis. If you go to the reservoir, it's producing very well. It's pumping well. I mean, it's only a portion of areas that don't have water. So if there was a crisis of water, the whole of Mamelodi was supposed to suffer with water. So now we need to go and resolve that matter. And how do we resolve it? Is that we look at the officials that are giving contracts to the trucks that are going to supply water. So they are closing water so that they can give contracts to their friends, so that they can make money out of that. And people are suffering. And that area called Ikageng, people are paying bond today. You pay bond, but you don't have water for 5 years. You look at Amanskral, where there's no, the water is dirty. Literally, you cannot drink water. If you drink water, then you can get diarrhea. I mean, more than 24 people died because of that diarrhea. How many billions went to that station? Vote, how many billions? Why the issue is not resolved even now? It shows that the issue is because of corruption. And we are not a corrupt an organization. We're going to deal with that issue decisively, because we don't believe in civil rights. We believe in human rights. We believe that a human being must live a proper life. We believe that basic things must be given to a human being. I mean, water is a basic necessity. Electricity is a basic necessity. Those are the first thing that we must make sure, more than anything, that human beings are exposed to.
Now, look, you said that once you are in power, the first thing that you want to do is to take the economy out of the hands of capitalists. And yet those are the ones with the money. So as we're speaking now, South Africa is owing to the World Bank and IMF. So how do you think, or what is the strategy that you will have to put in place to raise funds to cover all these services? Are you still going to go to the World Bank, or what is your plan as a EFF if you come to power?
They must not tell us about the World Bank. We were not there when they made all those loans. And what did they benefit our community? What did they benefit our people? Where did they go? So those individuals who are corrupt and aid the money of the state must go pay them. We have nothing to do with them. We never ask anything from them. Even today, EFF does not ask money from any capitalist or even the white monopoly whatsoever. We're raising money from the bottom to the top, from the community level, from individually, coming together, bringing up money. That's how we're resolving matters on a daily basis. So those who have caused those loans to the bank, to what do you call?
A World Bank, IMF.
They must deal with that, not us. When we take over, we're taking every means of production from the hands of the capitalists. We give it to the middle classes. We teach them how to run them. We give them skills of how to run their own businesses, how to produce their own toothpaste, how to produce their own productions. And in that way, we are growing the economy from the bottom going up. We don't need the economy that comes from the capitalist, the economy that they own 90% of the means of production. And you are saying that we are in the space of economic freedom. That's a total lie. We are not. We have not experienced economic freedom in our lifetime.
No, that's great. That's great. So your perspective on the elections, how do you see EFF position itself after elections?
EFF is doing very well. It's cruising nicely. EFF is the only organization that you'll ever find on the ground route. If there's a crisis at school, EFF is there. Come January, every January when they're placing kids, EFF is the only organization that is on the ground placing kids to the schools. If you look at in the university, currently EFF is taking all the universities. We are taking them, all the universities. EFF is on the ground. If you look at the labor desk where we find people that have got issues and crises in their working space, EFF is there to resolve their crisis. So each and every area where human beings are oppressed and suppressed, EFF is always there to resolve matters. So EFF is the only organization that is on the ground that believes in human rights, that believes in humans living a better life and having a better condition and a better environment. You will never find any political education. So what does that tell you? It shows that EFF is not only political, it's also in a space of social. It's also in the space of environment, also in the space of human rights. So it shows that they are more of human beings. They are more of bringing change into people's lives. They are more of trying to make a better living for people, a better condition living for human beings, people as a whole. So that's what I like about EFF. So we're doing very nicely. We're working very nicely. Now we are on the face of door to door. People are receiving us very nicely. Even the middle classes, people that we never thought they might receive us, they're receiving us in the suburb areas. They're very tired of the arrogant DA. They're very tired of the corrupt ANC. They're very tired of the puppet Action SA that came in the form of trying to assist human beings, all to find out that they are in the same bed as the capitalists. So EFF is the only organization that wants to see a black person flourishing, that wants to see human beings living in better condition.
Okay. So do you think you will be able to get the majority? You'll be able to dethrone the ANC, or you're still going to be having 11%, or you are on 9% now, right? Nationwide.
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to get some percentage, or are you going to be keeping the same?
ANC, unfortunately, it killed itself. We were not even competing to it.
So you're going to share among yourself?
We are not sharing with anyone. We are confident that we will take over. We'll have the majority. We have that confidence. I mean, people have to open their eyes and realize that EFF is here for economic change, and it's here for bringing a better conditions into our human beings and our people as a whole, our constituency. So we are going to give majority. We are taking it. We are not going for any coalition. We are not interested in coalition. But if it happens that the door is open for coalition, they should know that our manifesto will remain, and whoever that wants to have coalition with us, they must respect our cardinal pillars. They must know that we are very fond to them, and we are very firm and strict to make sure that we fulfill our 7 cardinal pillars, including the manifesto as a whole.
Okay. After the national elections, there will be provincial. Would you be the candidates, or are you still going to be in the backstage?
Look, I'm a ground force of the EFF. Wherever they place me, I go. I don't choose, and I don't see myself anywhere. A leader must not lead himself, and a leader must not tell himself that he is a leader. You must be told that you're the leader. You must be chosen to go to certain areas. You must not choose yourself. When you are deployed, you must say yes. If they wake you up in the midnight, you must say yes, because you chose to be a leader. You're no longer living for yourself. You're living for the community. You're living for the constituency. And leadership is about empowerment and bringing change. So if they see leadership in me, I'm happy. Whatever they say, I must do. If they say I must remain in the ground level, I'll remain. Wherever they take me, I'm open to that, because I believe that we are led. We are led. We have a very strong leadership in the national. Whatever they say, it goes. They've got experience. They've been in the political space for a very long time. So they've got a giraffe view than us. So we must allow them to lead us. We must allow them to empower us. Must allow them to direct us and guide us and drive us.
Oh, great. So before we finish this first part of the interview where we have dedicated to the upcoming elections, the reality in South Africa, EFF itself, I don't know if you have anything that you want to point out to for mostly the listeners, because I'm sure this kind of sessions help them to set their mind, to be clear in their mind as to why am I going to vote for EFF. So an average South African at this moment who is living in South Africa, in Pretoria, facing crime, facing all this gender violence, gender-based violence happening in South Africa, facing, drug dealers, facing, immigration challenges and all these things. What is your message that you want to address to these people so that they can really become clear in their mind that, okay, I'm going to vote for EFF or I'm not going to vote for EFF?
EFF is the only solution. It's the only political organization that will bring solution to our people. EFF is led by the generation that believes in economic freedom. Mm-hmm. We believe in socialism. We believe in sharing amongst ourselves. We believe that economy must go to the middle classes, to the poor of the poorest. We must shy away that poverty is an industry. It was created, and we want to collapse the industry of poverty. And EFF is capable of doing that when it's introducing the means of production to the hands of the poor. Our poor people, they are very skilled. It's just that they don't have a platform to express their innovation ideas, their capabilities. There was a young man who stays in Nelspruit who came with the petrol, mm-hmm. Using recycling. Mm-hmm. And that petrol was very good. Cars were using the petrol, and it was the cheapest. So no one gave that child a platform to flourish and shine. He was suppressed because of a paper. Mm-hmm. So if imagine you gave that child an opportunity, or that young man an opportunity, he was going to employ how many people mm-hmm. in our country? So there are people that are good in baking breads. Mm-hmm. We don't even use our own breads. We buy Albany. Who's Albany? Mm-hmm. Where we've got people that are capable to produce and make and bake breads and healthy, nice, soft, eatable bread. We are simply saying to our people that EFF wants to give you that kind of an opportunity. They want to give you an opportunity of a land to build your own industry, mm-hmm. give an opportunity of a land to build your own house, give you an opportunity to flourish, give your kids an opportunity to go to school for free, because you know that you cannot afford university. I mean, if a child wants to do medicine, how much is medicine per year? So if a child goes to school for free, mm-hmm. isn't that relieving a parent? Mm-hmm. So EFF is the only organization that is thinking of the community and thinking of the constituency of South Africa. So South Africa must open their eyes and allow EFF to give them an opportunity to flourish, mm-hmm. and an opportunity to have land, an opportunity to own their own industries, an opportunity to own their own houses, because that's what brings dignity to a human being. Thank you very much.
All right, I'm in conversation with Mr. Bongani from EFF. We'll be right back.
They need their freedom. They want to be free. They want to live a free life.
If it doesn't touch your conscience, follow me your conscience. I want to bury it inside here.
Yes.
All the people that you see here are students. But the most important thing is that they don't know what to expect in the future. But the French kids who are going to school just like you, they know already when they finish the school, they have a job, they have a house, they have life.
America! Abba! France! Abba! England! Abba! Arab! Abba! Everyone! Abba! Africa, we stand together!
Welcome back. We're still with Mr. Bongani here from the Economic Freedom Fighters in South Africa. We discussed about the EFF overall perspective for the upcoming elections on our first phase of this discussion. So now we want to shift the gear a bit towards the Africa and Pan-Africanism. So the first question that I have for you now is of Africa. You see, in the world today, you have a lot of upsides and ups and downs in the world today, economically, politically, warfare here and there. The economy in the world is not really stable. Well, you have European countries that are in decline and heavily relying on the African resources. So with China in the rise, you have more of what I can call the space war, where you have people or countries trying to fight to conquer the space. You have robotic as a field of interest, artificial intelligence. In all of this, where do you find Africa? But my question is more of, how do you see the future of Africa before the end of this century? Is there any hope, or Africa is just a hopeless child waiting for Jesus to come and save us?
Thank you very much once again, my brother. Firstly, hope will only manifest itself the moment we know who we are as Africans. We are the descendant of Mother Africa. We come from the soil of Africa, the soil that carries the heavy minerals, and we are made from that soil. So it means we're also equivalent to the minerals of Africa. So that's how important and special we are. And the moment we understand who we are in Africa, we will stand together united with a uniform idea, with a conviction philosophy of bringing Africa together and starting trading amongst ourselves. And realizing that each and every country is strong in their own right. And being strong in their own rights, I'm talking about in the minerals, and I'm talking about the intelligence of the people and the innovative ideas that individual has. If we can come together, unite the same way Europe are united, we unite as Africans, there will be hope. But for the fact that we are still killing one another, for the fact that we are still seeing each other as Kwarakweres and foreigners, for the fact that we don't see each other as family and one family that has been given birth by Mama Africa, then we're still in a crisis. And that crisis needs an emerging leaders. Those leaders that will emerge when there's crisis. And when they emerge with the intention of uniting Africa. But if those leaders are divided themselves based on their individual interest and they're not selfless, then we're going to have a group of people, a constituency of Africa not being united. So it has to start with the emerging leaders to come up with a better solution of uniting Africa as a whole. Thank you.
That's well said. So in that process, do you see that is necessary for Africa to maybe unite, not even unite, to partner with one of these superpowers like the United States, China or Russia for Africa to succeed? In other words, do you see that do you think that it's good for Africa to partner with one of these major countries for us to solve our problems? Whether you talk about technological problem, when you talk about imperialism, whatever you talk about, do you think that it's necessary for us to ally ourselves with one of these countries?
Firstly, before we align, we need to look at who's convicted to our philosophy of Pan-Africanism.
Fair.
Who's convicted to the philosophy of communist and socialist, or rather socialism. Those who believe and are convicted to that, then we can work hand in hand with them, because they'll never trouble our soul. But if you're going to work with people who have the ideology of capitalist and have the ideology of seeing the majority being slaves, then we are going to have a serious problem. But I strongly believe that China, they are a country that believes in the communist. Then we can be able to work with them. Russia once assisted us in our country. That tells you that they are willing to work hand in hand with us. So we need to work with people that they share the same ideology with us, that they share the same sentiment with us, that they want to see us trading amongst ourselves without robbing each other. No one is bigger than the other, but being equally and equal. Then that will work very well in Africa and diaspora and other countries outside Africa.
Do you trust China?
It's not a matter of trust. It's a matter of aligning. It's a matter of ideology. If we share the same sentiment, we share the same ideology, then we can work together. Because if we're going to work based on trust, we might find ourselves not working with anyone, because in the era that we're living in, trust, it's one element that we can never mention. Especially good. You find that people, when they look at you, they undermine you. Then you'll always react based on trust, and that is emotions. We must not attach emotions in the issue of ideology, because ideology doesn't need emotions. It needs solutions. It needs revolution. It needs answers. So when we enter into the space of ideology, we must leave our emotions aside.
But look at this. When, for example, you partner with China, what it wants to get out of Africa is mineral resources, is the land, is agricultural products. In fact, in Zambia, I think Chinese already seized like airports, because they funded, I think, the construction of airport or something, and because the Zambian government couldn't pay back, they had to capture the airports. There's another country where they captured the ports. I mean, the port of, which is the source of, how can I put, the door where all the merchandise and stuff enter in the country. So what do you think Africa can expect back from China? As China, we clearly know that China is coming for mineral resources of Africa. If we partner with them, like here in South Africa, what do you think South Africa can benefit from China?
Look, if you are led by a weak leadership or cabinet or president, you will always bound to fail and be captured. And when you're led by leaders that lie, that is a serious problem. Because when China enters and you lie to them and say, you give us this X amount, and if we can't pay you back within a space of this period, then you can take what belongs to us. That is foolishness. That is not leadership. Leadership, it says that we have minerals. What do you have for us? If you've got skills for us, give us skills in exchange of minerals. Or buy minerals from us, do whatever you want to do, and you can bring it back to us. We have to find a space where we agree. But not this space where you say, give us money, and if we fail to pay you at this point in time, you can capture our thing. That is foolishness. You understand? We have nothing to lose. They've got nothing to lose. But they have more, in fact, to lose rather, because we have minerals that they don't have. So since we are the owners of minerals, we are able to sit down and discuss on how we're going to work with each other. But if we don't find a common ground, then we part ways.
No, that's great. That's great. So are you against DA positions recently to get America involved, for example, like in South African elections, to more billions towards Israel against Palestine? What is your position?
DA are convicted by the Greek philosophy. DA are the minority who believes that the majority should be slaves. Even this day, they still believe that we are slaves before their eyes. They don't believe in equality. They don't believe in human rights. They don't believe in bringing a old race together to work as a team and form a great partnership in terms of the production and in terms of economy. They do not believe in that. DA still believe that the whites or the white monopoly or the minority are the leaders of the majority. So we don't stand with DA. DA is useless before our eyes. DA is not a solution bearers. DA, they are just a wicked team, which we're not going to entertain by all cost. In terms of the issue of Palestine and Israel, we condemn that. Palestine was not supposed to be attacked in that manner. We condemn such a killing. We condemn such thing because that is inhumane. What do you call that when you kill people? It doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong. You can never take a soul of a human being because you're not the creator of a human being.
And that's good. Now, I'm asking you the same question now, but not concerning Africa, now concerning South Africa. How do you see the future of South Africa? If, for example, EFF comes to power and start to implement its policy of land reform, for example, what do you see to become the relationship between black and white in South Africa? Like, how do you see the future of South Africa between black and whites? I mean, how do your thoughts on that?
The future of South Africa it's bright, and it will be bright in the hands of the EFF, because we believe so much in equality. We don't believe in race.
Which which many white people don't believe in. So that's
the issue of the ones that do not believe is the ones that are convicted by the philosophy of a majority being slaves, which those ones have to find a way of dumping their conviction, because it's not going to do them any justice. They will suffer because we believe in equality, and there's a group of whites who also believe in inequality, and those are the ones that are going to thrive with the majority in our country. And those who don't believe in that, let them go to a country where they will expose their wickedness. We do not want that in South Africa. We want to bring equality, and we want to make sure that economy is equal to the hands of all race. Look, we don't believe in a word race. To us, it does not exist, because all of us are equal. But the moment you bring in and you kick in race inside, then you will start realizing that there's an issue. Right now, if you look at this corporate minority, they're no longer saying racism. They call it a glass ceiling.
Okay.
Meaning, a glass ceiling meaning that if it's a ceiling, when you move as a majority, you only end on that ceiling. You don't go beyond the ceiling. Because beyond the ceiling is where the means of production are. Underneath the ceiling is where you are employed. You have to serve those who own the means of production. So that is racism. They no longer call it racism. They call it a glass ceiling in a corporate world.
It's crazy how things are changing. Yeah. So, just this one year, are you gonna claim Orania?
Come again?
Is EFF gonna take back the Orania, that's territory?
EFF as a government, every piece of land that is in South Africa will be managed.
There's a war. Good. They are well prepared there for warfare.
Revolution will always bring that on a table. Revolution. No one said revolution will be easy. No one said revolution will be it will be fight on the silver platter, or rather on a round table. If I can speak to believers there, when we take you back, when God said to Joshua, go to Canaan where there is honey and milk. Did they arrive there and negotiate with the giants when they find them there? Or that was a revolution? Yeah. So we need to understand that it does not start with us. Even biblically, it supports us. That land, and you will fight for it. But if we are civil and we are able to sit down and talk about it and resolve it democratically, and then we will not need war. But if they need war, we are ready. We are no longer alive. We are dead people. Whatever we do, we don't do it for ourselves. We do it for the next generation. So if they think that we do it for ourselves, they are lying to themselves. It's not for us. It's for the next generation. The next generation must not fight. Joshua fought for the next generation. We're fighting for the next generation. Thank you.
Any thought that you want to share about any topic, anything? Closing comment.
In closing comment, I just want to encourage our brothers and sisters that we need to find a space of liberation in our mind. The battle starts in the mind of a human being, and also in the spiritual realm. We have to be spiritually inclined. We have to be able to enter into spiritual realm in terms of prayer and deal with issues that are bringing equality to us. And as well as we need to deal with our mental state, because that's what harms the decisions of the country. So we have to come to a point where we are all liberated and we don't care who leads who. It's all about the philosophy, the ideology that is governing us. And if we are governed by ideology, we're not going to look at who's governing us. If Julius Solo Malema is bringing the ideology of socialist, is bringing the philosophy of sharing amongst ourselves and equality, it doesn't matter whether he's governing us or not. What matters is that he brought something that will bring equality to us. So we should honor, acknowledge him for the braveness that made him to come out of the cocoon and say, now we want socialism and we want equality. That on its own, it should make us as human beings to rally behind such an ideology, because that's what will bring peace and change in our life, and forget about who we love, who we don't love, because this is not about feelings. This is about a change. This is about transformation. This is about bringing equality to the constituency of South Africa and Africa, and Africa, as a whole. So that's what we need to look into. So I want to say to our people that let us be convicted by the ideology of socialism. Let us be convicted by the ideology of equality. It doesn't matter who's bringing on the table. Whoever that has brought it and is working for us, why should we stop it? Thank you.
No, beautiful. I think maybe next time we'll have to look deep into socialism and communism as ideology from EFF standpoint too, because many people don't understand these things. When you talk about socialism today, they tell you, oh, that thing failed. You know, the Soviet Union collapsed because it was communist and social, you know, all those kind of argument based on the propaganda that has been really funded and subsidized heavily by the United States and the capitalist empire of the world. So I think people need to understand when you talk about socialism, what it means, especially from EFF point of view. Maybe we'll have to schedule a discussion on that issue to talk better, to educate people, because people need to understand when you talk about socialism, when you talk about communism, and also when you talk about capitalism, what it implies and what does it imply, or what do they imply, and what is involved in all those three economic models. So anyway, thank you very much to all of you African people around the world and in South Africa. We greet you with our revolutionary greetings by saying that if you have two shoes, please sell one and buy a sword, because now it is time for revolution. You know, and this revolution is not about complaining too much, but it's about actions. It starts with the mind. So peace and love, freedom and decolonization to all African people at home, abroad, and in the future. We see you next time. Bye-bye.